What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of StoryHive On Location Vancouver with beats, eats, and more. I thought we were pointing.
I went for that.
Yeah.
I think we did say we were going to point, and then I didn't. But now we've created a really cool, unexpected moment.
That's right. I am your host, Kazi. We are broadcasting live right now from the unceded ancestral lands of the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish First Nations. Utmost love and respect to the original stewards and protectors of these lands and these waters. I'm also wanting to give a big shout out to TELUS STORYHIVE for making today's episode possible. And of course, we must introduce our guest. This one right here, kind of sassy, kind of fun. We already like him. I want to introduce y'all to a wizard of wonder, Joel Grinke, who is a Vancouver-based experienced designer and creative director crafting immersive shows and alternate universes. With roots in theater, themed attractions, and museums, he's cooked up everything from interactive theater and seasonal park glow-ups to full-on multimedia and fireworks spectaculars. What does that all mean? You might have seen his magic at Lights of Hope at St. Paul's Hospital, or his work at YVR Airport, or maybe Cougar Creek House of Horrors. Joel specializes in telling uplifting stories in unexpected spaces, creating magical moments for people and the ones they love. Yes.
Wow, okay.
Right now, for anyone who doesn't know, we are in the magical, beautiful Roedde House Museum, which is a space that was built in late 1800s, is what you need to know. One of the very first book binders, Gustav Roedde, and his wife lived here. And it's actually also the space in which your latest works is taking place.
Yeah.
Which we'll definitely get into, but I want to start actually from the very, 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 very beginning of Joel Grinke.
Oh my goodness.
You know, in order for us to understand who is sitting in front of us today, the immersive designer and creative director and all the things, what do we need to know about young baby Joel?
Young baby Joel.
Yeah.
Well, it was a dark and stormy afternoon.
A night of a full moon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, exactly. What do you need to know about Joel? Let's see. So I grew up in North Van, local guy, and grew up doing theater. Grew up going to the Vancouver Youth Theater, doing musicals, all that kind of stuff, and eventually, and then had worked, had a mild interest in electronics, consumer electronics, things like that. Worked for some large big box electronics retailers while also performing in shows. Eventually ended up going to theater school, where I trained as an actor, and my joke sort of became that I just didn't like showing up after opening night. So
why? What does that mean?
Oh, so what that means is so it was that I would do the acting stuff.
Yeah.
But then I would always try to figure out ways to jam other things into, so I've got a bit of musicianship in my background. So I know how to play the violin and the piano and the guitar and stuff like that kind of in my back pocket.
Yeah.
So I'd always try to jam doing that into shows, or I would try to, or the show that I wrote as my final project for Studio 58 was a show in which a guy decides to stay inside forever because he believes the radio is telling him to do that. So I built a show where I was performing live on stage and had completely pre-recorded a half-hour radio show that would be misinterpreted by the character that would then play alongside the performance.
Oh my gosh.
So kind of extra.
Yeah.
That, kind of extra like that.
To answer your question for young baby Joel, extra doing everything.
Extra doing that. I think that's actually a really accurate summation of what I was
So I want to go a little bit deeper into some of the things you just said.
Please.
So what was the first thing you saw theater-wise that you were like, that is, I want to do that?
So I have two answers to that.
Yeah.
First one is Ragtime the musical.
And you were how old?
It would have been the tour in 1996, I guess, 1995, 1996, Ragtime. And it was incredible because it's massive cast. If you don't know Ragtime, Ragtime is the story of the turn of the century United States, sort of how immigrants, African American community, and the white community in New York comes together and breaks apart, and how do we learn to live together harmoniously? No, doesn't work anymore in 2025.
Yeah.
100% is as good today as it was then. It's totally relevant nowadays. Yeah. I would love to see a production of it done again. There was actually a production done of it again in Seattle quite recently. It was lovely. My point, and there's one in New York right now, actually, that opened very recently. I'm getting off on a tangent here.
Yeah.
What I loved about it was that it was this amazing, what I now understand that I loved about it was that it was this amazing, grandiose piece of entertainment that weaved together all kinds of different forms. So the performers, of course, were incredible. And so that's what led me down like the acting path. But the thing that I've come to realize as I've gone down the path is what was actually incredible is how all of these elements worked in sync with each other. So between the performers, the music, this amazing sweeping music with this massive orchestra, these sets that moved beautifully and created new spaces and new visuals, the way that we were just wrapped in music and lights and sound and we're told this beautiful story. That's what I loved about it.
So after that, were you like, Mom, sign me up for things?
So I'd already been doing a little bit of theater up until then. So my grandfather was an amateur theater director growing up, and he died in 1993. So I already had like a sense of stuff, and I had I'd been watching like George M. Cohan, a movie called Yankee Doodle Dandy. Had been like my favorite movie, which is a really weird thing for like a 5-year-old. That Yankee Doodle Dandy, the story of George M. Cohan, the man who wrote like all kinds of these American marching songs, like songs like Over There.
This is where Yankee Doodle came from?
So the song Yankee Doodle, like Yankee Doodle came to London, is not a George M. Cohan song. That's like a kind of an older song. But George M. Cohan wrote a show called Yankee Doodle Boy, which is about this guy who's an American who wins the English Derby race, and has all kinds of songs like 45 Minutes from Broadway, Over There. I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy is the big one. That's the one I'm looking for. It's I'm a Yankee Doodle Dandy, Yankee Doodle. And so for me, like very kind of American values of entertainment, which I think have stuck with me quite a bit. But that led me into doing theater, like from like 5 years old, doing like little skits and theater classes and things like that. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you ever do a foray into like TV and film or
I did do TV and film for a while. So after like theater school, after like when I was for like the year and a half that I in earnest was trying to be a gigging actor. After theater school, I did a little bit of TV and film, but I just never liked doing it.
What's the difference in your mind between doing it live theater versus TV film? So
it's actually kind of, for me, comes back to the being there in the moment and the reason that I don't like showing up after opening night. So for me, film is a medium where we keep working it until we get it right. Right? And then we're done.
Yeah.
And then we're done and we don't have to like do it again.
Got the cut.
We got the cut and we don't know and then it'll take like months and months and months until we know whether people like it or not. And also you kind of don't get, when you're doing the film, for me, it's like you don't really get the moment before and you don't really get the moment after. You just come in, do this one little piece, this one little chunk, and you get out. Versus, in a theater piece, so if we go to Ragtime, so Ragtime is this beautiful thing for the people sitting in the seats.
Yes.
Where it's like, we are here in the moment and it is happening to us right now. For the actors, they are part of this thing that they have to nail every night. Like to me, in that context, the concept of the magic of theater, like that we always say, oh, the magic of theater is anything can happen. And the truth of that actually is that, like, yes, anything can happen, but then people are going to get notes about it and they have to fix it for tomorrow night, right? Versus, so then to bring us around to the idea of immersive theater, which I have a hunch is maybe where we want to go with this. So what I've been doing just before I went to theater school, and then for a little bit during theater school, and kind of as I was able, was a show called Tony and Tina's Wedding.
I've heard of this.
Yes. So
where was that?
So it was at the time it was put on by a group called Horse Raven Theater. Okay. And it ran for, I believe, 13 years in Vancouver. And then it's recently been revived by my pals at Hammer Up Productions. Cool. Shout out to them. And go see it. It runs, I believe they're doing some shows this weekend, and hopefully they're back. They're doing it really smart, actually. They do it sort of once or twice a month. For folks, like, they don't have it running constantly. My hope is that they are back in the new year. I suspect they will be, but anyways, Tony and Tina's was a great jumping off point. It was this seminal piece of work for, like, immersive theater writ large. So for me, with immersive theater, it's like Tony and Tina's in the 90s, early 2000s, kind of was one of these initial ones where it's like, hey, you show up to the wedding, and then you and all of the wedding guests, or the people at the wedding, like all the bride, the groom, and all that, Tony and Tina and the best man and all that, they're all actors. They're all performers. And we take on the role of the guest as an audience member. We are the guests.
Did you get to eat cake?
And there's cake, there's wine, there's food. It's amazing. Yeah. And just on the note of, like, seminal pieces of immersive theater. So it's like that, and then Sleep No More. Yes. Which is kind of when we talk about Christmas with the Marches, is kind of like so Christmas with the Marches kind of feasts on both of these, on the learnings of both of these shows a little bit. So Tony and Tina's, I was in Tony and Tina's, and
like, you were an actor.
I was an actor in it for 4 years, and by the time I was sort of done my run there, but actually I was with the show until it closed.
What role were you?
So by the time I was done, I did every major male role that a 20-year-old could do. Yeah. So, like, I'd played Tony, I'd played Best Man. Best Man's probably the funnest one. Yeah. Because you're like our secret drug dealer. Yeah. But what's lovely about that show is you've got the structure, you've got the scaffolding of what needs to happen. So there are the things that need to happen every night. But then, based on what happens, what the audience gives you, what you get from a person in the room, what you are just feeling on that given night, you get to play, like, in this way that we play as children. We all get the opportunity. We invite the audience to play, to make believe in the way that we did as children. And in order for us to do that, we as performers have to also be making believe in that type of way. And that's what I loved about doing that.
That's so cool. Did you have to get into improv training to prepare yourself for something like that?
So improv training is good for that. It's very, very good for that. It's kind of a base level for that. I think what improv training does, and the trap an improv person can get into, if you go into doing something like that with, like, just a pure improv training, and then you go, oh, I can do improv training, because a lot of people doing improv training, like, think theater sports, right? Right. Which is great and wonderful, and I did theater sports, and I love theater sports.
Yeah, or they think of whose line is it anyway?
Exactly, whose line is it? Like, that game style of doing things, right? Where the goal is to get to a joke. Whereas in immersive theater, humor is good, and Tony and Tina's, like, definitely there's humor in there, but the humor comes out of the situations, and the humor comes out of and the humor and the beauty of an improv that you can do in a situation like that is that you completely believe what's happening, and that we are able to just live. This is an acting thing. This is an acting term, to live truthfully within the given circumstances. And what that means to me is that, in the same way that we, like, just sit here and have a conversation, we would hope that I can honestly, as a person playing Barry Wheeler, I can go, I am the character Barry Wheeler, the drug-dealing best man who all he wants to do is make sure that this night goes perfectly for his best friend. But unexpectedly, his other friend, who happens to be a recovering drug addict and is in love with Tina.
Yeah.
He has arrived and I have to deal with him in a way that he is my friend. And I need to talk to you as an audience member who has now become my new friend.
And who's actually a guest at the wedding.
And who's actually a guest at the wedding about how can you help me get through this situation and how can we be human beings together. There's a woman named Michael Tara Garver who is a bit of a thought leader in immersive writ large, and she talks about the concept of humaning together, which is something we talked a lot in the making of the Christmas with the Marches show. And this idea of humaning together where we can just sit in a room and we can know that we have a story to tell, and a way that we can tell that story is by communicating with other people and helping them fully understand what is happening in this fictional world by being able to equate it with something that happened in their personal world.
Dang, that is some immersion, psychological infiltration station. Another thing I want to tap back into your very first long paragraph.
Yes.
You mentioned electronics, like getting into electronics as a young person. What was that?
Yeah.
Electronics has evolved a lot. Technology has evolved a lot over the years.
It's funny because it has and it hasn't, in my humble opinion. Because So commercial electronics have evolved, certainly since 2000, we have gone from not having iPhone to having iPhone.
Yeah, not having smartphone.
Exactly, to having smartphone and having the price has come down dramatically. So for me, where it started was, I had a computer. My dad is a photographer and was an early adopter of technology in general. So it was 1998 and he had Adobe Premiere version 1.
Whoa.
And he had and he and a couple guys were splitting the costs of Adobe Photoshop version 2 and 3 or whatever, right? So and he had bought we had internet in the house. We had the dial-up line, and that was really cool. And I remember starting to download a 30-second clip of a movie, going to school and then coming home.
And it's ready.
And it was it was going to be ready in another 2 hours. So it was ready by dinner time. But anyways, he was one of the guys. So he was a guy who he bought an early digital camera, and it was a 1.3 megapixel camera.
OMG.
That it was so cool that we could take a picture, and then we could go to events, take a picture, and then print it out and give it to people before they left. Right. So that was very cool. So that was sort of, I just had that connection to technology, and I had that connection to automation and the ability to create the things that I wanted to see by using digital stuff. So I ended up going and working for a consumer electronics store for Future Shop back, if we all remember Future Shop, Canada.
Before we had Best Buy.
This is the Canadian content part of the thing. This is CanCon right here. So Future Shop, I worked at, and so I kind of understood computers and whatnot. But then it sort of came around to when we come back to theater school, I didn't want to stick around after opening night. It's when I started thinking about, because I'd done the Tony and Tina show, and I'd started thinking about hey, how can we make audience members, the main characters in this story? I get to sit around as a performer and feel all these things. How can we let audience members feel all these things? And so what I started doing was going, okay, how can so we, in theater, we have all these kind of tools that we can make the lighting change. We can go on audio. We can go on automated set movement and whatnot on tracks. So I started thinking about how can we put that in the hands of audience members? How can we start giving them the tools? How can we add buttons to shows? How can we start how can we find ways? This was before everybody had a smartphone. This was 2005. So how can we put things in? So that was just
pager era.
That was just pre. It was post-pager. It was cell phones, but we didn't have the GUIs. Steve Jobs hadn't come out and gone, it's an iPod, it's a web browser, it's a phone.
05 was my LG flip phone era.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a Razor. I had
Yeah,
one of the Razors. Those were
that
dope.
was the era.
Yeah, those were money. So anyways, so I started thinking about all those things, right? And so there were tools to do that. There's a software called QLab that's used a lot in theater. That like I started thinking about how can we like get that in the hands of people, like audience members, and that led me down this path, this odd path through my desire to like be more in the attractions, theme park sort of world. I started working for a museum integration company as a creative technologist.
Sick.
Which is a really fancy way of saying the person who, when people go, how can we make that work, is crazy enough to go like, I'll figure it out. That's what that means. That's what creative technologist means.
I'm being creative,
yeah,
and I'm
a technologist.
That's
yes,
it.
Exactly. And it's really cool because that was inspired by. So for me, like the gold standard of entertainment, themed entertainment, live experiences is what's happening at like theme parks, is what's happening at the Universal theme parks, is what's happening at the Disney theme parks. The folks that work at like Disney Live Entertainment, Disney Imagineering, Universal Creative, like they're doing the stuff to me. And so like and it is just all, it's like, how can I build those kind of things, and how can I in my own way bring those sorts of experiences to my local community when I am here. Yeah.
Tell us about a project that you've gotten to do in this vein with, you know.
Yeah. So we've had a couple cool things that I did. So when I was working with the museum integration company, so there's a project at the Vancouver Airport that you name checked earlier, that is at the Pier D International pier, whatever they call it. And it was this big, massive like LED screen wrapped on glass, and it was trying to create the feeling that you were sort of in nature, like bringing the nature of British Columbia, but in this elevated sort of mystical way into the international area of the airport.
Okay.
So we had like 27 scenes that would play out that were all pre-built, that had like a 36 speaker immersive sound system, and there would be like a bear walking up on the top walkway while like you were looking at this little island in this middle piece. There's a nighttime show there, or there wasn't. So the unfortunate thing is it opened during COVID. So in many ways, some of the things we wanted to do never got realized, or did get realized, but then by the time it opened more fulsomely, just weren't functioning anymore, and there just was an appetite to go back and revive it. So I did a lot of the technology work, and then was the director of this nighttime experience that was projection onto rocks and trees.
So cool.
That told these multiple stories of things washing up on the sand and becoming animals and walking out.
That's so cool. Yeah. So now we're here. We're now here in the Roedde House, and you're working on Christmas with the Marches.
Yes.
Tell us about how this came to be.
Yes. So we've got a couple. So there's a stack here.
Yeah.
And it actually starts with Christmas Carol.
Yes.
So Christmas Carol was a project that we did in 2020, December of 2020. And what was happening is a pal of mine had a project that he's done historically here that's kind of like an actor's storytelling show, right? And so December of 2020 comes around and he goes, well, we can't put 30 people in a room to watch 4 actors run around and say words.
Yeah.
What could we do? And so just because I was working in museums at the time, and because I had a couple of contacts that have projector tech and whatnot, it was like, hey, what we can do is we can put 8 people from a bubbled group through a tour that doesn't require a tour guide at a time, every, call it 20 minutes. And so that's what we did. So we ran it just for a couple weeks. It did very, very well.
Yes.
I mean, I am not blind to the fact that it probably did very well because there was nothing else to do. But I still take pride in that. Hey, it did really, really well. It was nearly sold out.
Yeah.
And it was, and so the quick version of it is that what you do is you walk into this wonderful house, and one of the great gifts of it is that you're able to go in one direction around this house and go in one door and come out the back door, and you've gone through the thing without having to interact with anybody. So in each room, we have a projector, and we have a bunch of color changing lights. And we have speakers, very kind of like, I would say, on the lower end speakers, like inexpensive speakers, playing the sounds. We've upgraded them to do it this year a little bit, but not a lot. But yeah, inexpensive speakers that, because of the rooms and because of how resonant the rooms are, like the majority of them sound really good in the rooms. So we did that in 2020.
Yes.
And we went on our merry way.
But wait, what's the story?
So the story is continuing. Yeah. Do you mean like the story of the
Christmas Carol?
Yeah. So Christmas Carol. Christmas Carol is the Charles Dickens story, and you go through each room. You start in the first room, and you're in Scrooge's counting house, and then you meet Jacob Marley, and then you go and you meet the Ghost of Christmas Present. This room is the room we are in right now is where Fezziwig's party happens. Okay. And then you go to the Ghost of Christmas Present, and there. You go upstairs. We've set up a graveyard upstairs. So you go through the graveyard, which is pretty cool. So that's great. So we made that. We made that in 2020. And so it goes along. And then Sarah, who manages Roedde House, gave my pal Bill a ring late last year, early this year, and asked if they wanted to do the show again. Running concurrently to that, I was in New York presenting a piece, and had connected with a really cool group of folks, Odyssey Works, and so I was connecting with them, and I had met a woman named Brooke, who did this introduction, and we got talking, and she started talking about how she has a version of Little Women that she's been working on for years, and that wants to be an immersive version of Little Women. And she would really love it if she had like a Victorian home that she could do it in. And I went, well, that's funny, because I have a Victorian home that I know is open to doing weird theater stuff in. Maybe we can make this happen. So I came back, kind of had it in my back pocket. That's around when I got the call that, hey, we want to do Christmas Carol again. My feeling on it, I'm very interested to see what it's been very interesting to see with the week that it's been open, the reaction to Christmas Carol. Christmas Carol is very much of the time that it was made. We've made a couple updates to it, but not many, because budget. So it feels very much like something that was made in 2020. And what I mean by that is that it has the interactivity is very low. We don't have any touch points or anything. It's designed to be, it's quite meditative, which I think is actually very lovely in 2025, to have a little bit of time to just sit and have nothing happen not nothing happen, but to be like just in this story that is moving a little slowly and feels like, hey, I'm just taking these 40 minutes to myself. But on the other hand, I was like, I think it might be interesting to be able to offer both of these things to people in Vancouver. So like this nice automated, all lights and sound and video show that's quite meditative, and then this Christmas with the Marches is what we've come to call it. Which is the story of Little Women, but the idea is that it starts out that you have arrived at the Christmas party of the March family. And you walk in the front door and you're greeted by Meg, and you see Beth playing at the piano, and Amy is off doing her arts and crafts over at the table. Marmie's had to run out on some kind of errand. She'll be back soon. And Joe's trying to put on a little play, a little Christmas play. And who knows, you might be the person who is cast in the play to satisfy the role of the Pirate King.
Oh my God.
Amazing. So all of this happens all around you. So you're able to explore the house fully. The way we put it is it's a choose your own adventure story. Follow whichever of the girls is most interesting to you, and you can follow them through the entire story.
Wow.
And so we make use of the whole house. We have chairs for folks around the space. But mostly, so if a person wanted to just sit down in one chair for the whole show on the first level of the house, they will get a really fun show. But if they want to go explore, certainly they can go explore and they will see unexpected things. Like there's a lovely moment that a person can find if they're so inclined, where Jo is sitting at her writing desk writing a letter to father. And I swear it's like every time I watch her do that, I cry a little bit because it's so lovely. And for me, what Christmas with the Marches does is it brings us to the thing that I referenced oh so long ago, which is this idea of creating this magic inside of our world that we live in. Like when you step through the front door, it becomes a bit of a portal to this parallel universe where the story of Little Women is playing out. And that's the lovely, and so we use all these, so we are able to use our lights. We use our lights a good amount to indicate the passage of time, to give this feeling of, oh, we are moving through not quite reality, so that we can understand that we're like jumping years, timelines. We are making it okay that the person who just said, oh, I need to go visit father at the front. The fact that Marmee goes out and says, I have to visit father at the front, that she comes back in the very next scene, we understand that we have actually jumped, months, if not years.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
In wrapping up everything in terms of, the different projects you've worked on, but also in what you are currently working on and what is being presented right here, right now in Roedde House, what kind of emotional response or transformation do you hope people walk away with?
Holy mackerel.
Maybe not transformation. Like we can't expect that it's going to be that big, or could be, but emotional response.
Yeah, I think that, I think the beauty of immersive theater, of any kind of artwork that we create that allows people to live inside of it. There was a term a long time ago. VR was called the empathy machine. I don't know if anybody remembers that. I don't know that VR is an empathy machine, and I don't know that immersive theater is an empathy machine either. But what I hope it allows us to do is that by sitting this far, like from me to the piano, sitting that far away from a girl who's dying of scarlet fever, and then has a conversation with her, like I even tear up like a little bit thinking about it, like has a conversation with her sister about how she's come to peace with her own death, and that she hopes that her sisters can also do that. Like, I hope that by being able to like sit in the same room as people who are having that, like it, and very much feel like you are in the same room and that you are there at a party for those people, that it allows us to either find empathy or to heal that thing inside of us. To get that thing that we need to be exercised.
That we didn't even know
was there. So I hope, so my hope is that people leave Christmas with the Marches feeling like they have been, that they've been cleansed a little bit, that they can find more empathy for the people around them and what's going on, and be able to go, like, even know that, hey, I went to this room and actually all this, like, Marmee's a great character for this in Little Women, is Marmee comes in and is the one who has to like give these what we ended up calling fortune cookie type of advices, or has to be the one that goes, girls, you need to like go to your rooms. But then if you take the moment to go follow Marmee and understand what she's thinking about, and understand like that she feels like if she doesn't stop moving, she's gonna break down. That the family dynamic between when father was here and now that he's not is so different. If you take that time to understand that what you see in this, what you see in the main room, this is a metaphor. What you see in the main room is not necessarily what you're going to experience if you decide to go into the back rooms. So I hope that's what people feel when they come to Christmas with the marches. Christmas Carol, the walkthrough of Christmas Carol, is for me just like a good old fashioned like, hey, take an hour and feel the season.
Yes.
Like there's this lovely thing about like that I had growing up about the holiday season, Christmas time,
Yeah.
any of that. That it's like, hey, it's really dark outside and it's kind of a bummer outside. And like, and our goal and even coming back to Lights of Hope, like to kick off the Christmas season by lighting it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I hope that by telling, there's such important, this is true of marches and Christmas Carol, is we tell these stories, and there's a reason that these stories stay in our collective consciousness, because they are the metaphors that let us understand our lives better.
Yes.
So I hope like with Christmas Carol, we get that nostalgic feeling of Christmas, like Christmas Carol is just in our, like whether you're a kid from the Alistair Sims version or the Muppets version or the Jim Carrey version, like there's a Christmas Carol for everyone, and that story's in our blood. And it ultimately is the idea of that, like Scrooge can always find redemption at Christmas time.
Everyone can have a moment to soften.
Exactly.
Yeah. Aw, Joel.
So there you go.
Amazing. I wanted to ask you some rapid fire questions, but
I don't do well at those.
You have to answer them rapid fire. Okay?
It's not my skill.
I'm going to make it even harder because
Great.
I'm just going to be like 3 words to...
Great.
3 words, 3 ingredients to designing a magical moment.
Wonder, imagination, empathy.
3 words to describe what excites you most about the future of experience design.
Discovery,
Yes.
magical technology.
Ooh. Technology or creative tool you're obsessed with right now.
Hot seating.
What is that?
Oh, you want me to tell more about that?
1 sentence.
One sentence. It is a exercise by which a person in character sits down and has a conversation with you.
So hot seat.
So a hot seat. So a hot seat. So like you would say, hey, I'm Joe March, and then we have a 20-minute conversation with you as Joe March.
To get into character.
To get into
hot
character.
seating.
Hot seating.
I like that. Moment you've experienced most recently that reminds you why you do what you do.
Why I do what I do was on Light Up Night of Lights of Hope, and this is a cool thing actually about what I get to do, which is like be a little bit anonymous as I've made the thing. Is that so? Lights of Hope night, we have the show all ready to go. I've got my guys up in the thing, but I am the person who pushes the button to start the show. So I'm like watching the Weather Woman like doing the thing because we take it off of her counting down, and so I go, press the button, and there's like a moment, because there's a moment where it's in God's hands, where it's like I press the button, there's 4 seconds of silence until I know that like it worked.
Yeah.
Done all our tests, we know it should work, but there's also always that like little iota of doubt. And so you push the button and it goes, and then I have nothing more to do, right? Except go and sneak into the crowd and be part of the crowd.
Yeah.
And being part of a crowd who's watching a thing, who you are completely anonymous in, who nobody there knows you had anything to do with this. So they're not.
It's pure. It's real.
Pure. So they're not like, they're not looking after your feelings.
Yeah.
They don't care about you.
Yeah.
They're just watching the thing, and it's pure. And when you hear people like being like, wow, and it's like, and see people like crying a little bit, and people that you'll never know, people I'll never meet, that's cool. That's why I do it.
Oh, Joel. I'm so happy to meet you and to have had this conversation with you. Especially, really relating on the stuff on immersive and experience design. And this show, I can't wait to see it.
I can't wait for you to see it.
Well, it's been a really great hour and a bit chatting with Joel Grinke, experience designer, creative director, superhuman, really, and also just human.
Super human.
Human. Exactly. My name is Kazi. Big shout outs to TELUS STORYHIVE for powering this episode. If you don't know our show, this is Beats, Eats, and More. We cover the creatives, the musicians, the dancers, the artists, the people who are making Van City a lot cooler, TBH, to be real. And if you have a story to share, or you are a creative yourself and you feel like you'd like to share with us, you can scan this QR code that's going to appear on the video afterwards and fill out a form, and we'll check it out and see. And who knows, maybe you could be sitting here with me next to Joel, or next to me, just like Joel has been for the last hour and a bit. My name is Kazi, and once again, thank you, Joel, for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, appreciate your story, and can't wait to get to know more. There's definitely a lot more I want to talk to you about.
Sounds good.
All right, y'all. Everyone have a great day. My name is Kazi once again. This is Joel Grinke, and y'all have been watching Van City Beats, Eats, and